everyone, I'm back with another what I eat in a day. I love these videos because I just get to talk about food. So for breakfast this day I made my go-to smoothie, but first I make my own oat milk by blending up 1 mug of oats with 3 mugs of water. It's just so cheap and easy to make, and it's a really great base for smoothies. Whiz that up for around 2 minutes and then strain it through a sieve. You kind of have to use a spoon to help it through, and then you're left with like this pulp, which can either be discarded or you can use it in cookies and cakes. And then I just rinse my blender and then pour the milk back into it. Add in a tablespoon of honey to sweeten it, blend it up for another 30 seconds and then it's done. I leave about 250 millilitres in the blender for my smoothie, but then I store the rest in an airtight bottle. It lasts me up to about 5 days in the fridge, and I only have to do that once a week. So to my milk I just added 2 bananas, which are a great source of potassium and they just make it nice and thick and creamy. And then a teaspoon of almond butter. I use the Meridian almond butter, which is amazing. Half a teaspoon of vanilla extract, a tablespoon of chia seeds and a tablespoon of maca, which is a ground root vegetable. It just makes it again really creamy and it's got a slight caramel taste to it. Blend that up again and then I pour it into my jar. This is just so filling and there's so much energy in it, as well as natural protein, and it tastes amazing. For a simple snack I took an avocado. I cut it in half, put half in a bowl, half in the fridge, chopped up 1 tomato and half a cucumber, put those on top, and then I drizzled it with some balsamic vinegar and seasoned it with some black pepper. Really, really easy, but so tasty, and this is one of my favourite easy snacks. So for lunch I made some vegetable pancakes, but first I made some dill cashew nut cheese using 400 grams of overnight soaked cashews, and then I chopped up a large handful of dill and 2 sticks of celery. Added those to the blender as well with a tablespoon of lemon juice, 3 tablespoons of nutritional yeast. I get mine from Amazon. It's a natural product and it's got this slight cheesy taste to it, and is a great source of vitamin B12 as well. I seasoned it with salt and pepper, and then you're left with something like a creamy cheese, which I then keep in a container in the fridge for a couple of days. Then I make my pancakes by first grating up a courgette. I then set that aside for 10 minutes in a sieve with some salt just to help draw out the moisture. Then back in my food processor I grated 1 white onion, 2 peeled medium potatoes, and then I added in a tablespoon of red pepper flakes and seasoned it with pepper. No need for the salt because I then added back in the courgettes. Stirred everything together and then added in a little bit of olive oil in a pan on a medium heat, and then this mix makes 3 mini sized pancakes or rosties. I just mould them with my hands. You might have to squeeze out some of the extra liquid if there is any, and then I just pop them in the pan for around 5 to 10 minutes before flipping them over to brown on the other side. I then just popped them under the grill to finish off whilst I fried up some mushrooms, and then I stacked up my savoury pancakes, put the mushrooms on top, and then crumbled over some of my dill cashew cheese. They are actually really quick to whip up and cook, and you can even make a big batch of them in advance, keep them in the fridge and reheat them in the oven when you want them. Plus I love the dill cashew nut cheese. You can use it on toast, in sandwiches, on jacket potatoes, anything you like. A snack that I have been so obsessed with at the moment is oat cakes, and I make these using a mug of oats, which I first blend into an oat flour, and then I add in a tablespoon of coconut oil, 1/3 of a mug of water, a tablespoon of nutritional yeast, and then seasoned it with salt, pepper, and I also added in a handful of pumpkin seeds. Blended that up until the mix sticks, and then I just sprinkled a little bit more oat flour onto a clean surface, and then I rolled it out, and no, I still don't have a rolling pin, so I used my nutritional yeast can, and then I took a ramekin to cut out my oat cake shapes. This made 8 altogether, and I just popped them on a lined baking tray, put them in the oven on 180 degrees Celsius for around 15 minutes. Left them to cool once they were out, and then I had 3 for my snack, and I spread on some more of my dill cashew nut cheese, Top them with sun-dried tomatoes and also some chopped green olives. I know that this all looks like so much prep, but I am just showing you each recipe, and usually I would just make things up in big batches, keep them in containers, store them in the fridge, or even freeze them, which is really helpful if you have a busy lifestyle. And then for dinner I made some noodle soup by first frying up 1 sliced white onion in a pan with a drop of olive oil. Once they were soft, I then pressed in 2 cloves of garlic, added in a thumb-sized piece of chopped fresh ginger, a teaspoon of red chilli, 5 sliced medium mushrooms, a tablespoon of miso paste or glaze, and a good lug of tamari. And then I made sure that everything was coated nicely, and I left that to cook for about 10 minutes before adding in 2 mugs of vegetable stock, and then I popped the lid on and left it to simmer. For a side dish, I chopped up half a cauliflower into mini florets and popped them on a baking tray, put them in the oven for about 15 minutes. And whilst that was doing its thing, I made up a sauce. I used 3 tablespoons of honey, 2 tablespoons of tamari, 1 teaspoon of Chinese white spice, and 1 clove of minced garlic. I left that to the side until the cauliflower was almost done, and then I stirred it through the cauliflower, made it sure it was all well coated, and then I put it back in the oven for another 10 minutes. Back to my soup, which had been bubbling away for about 20 minutes, and I added in a few pieces of broccoli and 2 sliced carrots. Then in another pan I added some boiling water and then popped in my rice noodles. I use 1 nest per person, and these only take 10 minutes to cook. I served the cauliflower. This was my first time making it like this. It was kind of meant to be like a sticky chicken wing alternative, but I didn't want to use any flour, so the sauce was a little runnier. Still tasted good though. I topped that with some sesame seeds and some green spring onions. I put the noodles into our bowls. I had the broccoli because my boyfriend hates it, and then I served up the rest of the veg with the broth. I then topped the bowls with some more green spring onions, and hot sauce or sriracha is completely optional if you like it extra spicy. This is like one of my favourite dishes. I love eating it with chopsticks. I love how slurpy and messy it gets, and all of the flavours are incredible. And then for dessert, a lovely subscriber of mine had sent me these amazing coconut bites. Thank you so much again, Sandra. These are so good. They're actually made with only 3 ingredients: designated coconut, coconut oil, and agave nectar. And so instead of just enjoying mine, I thought I'd show you how to make something similar. I took half a mug of designated coconut, a tablespoon of coconut oil, and a tablespoon of honey. Now, I didn't have any agave nectar. I think it would have been better with agave nectar. I do still eat honey though. I blended that up and then pressed them tightly into an ice cube tray. This mix made 15 bites in total, and I popped them in the freezer for around 30 minutes just to set. And then I removed them, popped them out, and stored them in a container in the fridge. Lastly, and as always, I had a cup of tea before bed, and one of my favourites is peppermint. It's just so soothing and it really helps me to get a good night's sleep. I really hope you enjoyed this. Give it a thumbs up if you'd like to see more like these, and I will write up all the recipes in the description box below and link to my other What I Eat in a Day videos. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in my next video. Bye!